Did you see, before we get back to calls, did you see this Sammy Sosa story?
No.
Yeah, so Sammy Sosa and the Cubs had a kind of reconnection today. So for 17 years, they have, like, Sosa has not been welcome. They have not really had a connection to anything at all. We all know, of course, his history with, PEDs and everything else. So he wrote a letter apologizing for making mistakes. And
specifically that?
Yeah. Like I'm trying to find where.
Or is this the Jason Giambi? I apologize, but I'm not going to tell you what I'm apologizing for.
Yeah, he stopped short of admitting that he used PEDs in a statement that he released, but he did say at times throughout his playing career he, quote, did whatever I could to recover from injuries in an effort to keep my strength up to perform over 162 games. He said I never broke any laws, but in hindsight I made mistakes and I apologize. So the team. I guess they had hinted at needing an apology before welcoming back into the organization. And so Tom Ricketts, who is of course, the chairman of the Cubs, he said, we appreciate Sammy releasing his statement and for reaching out. No one played harder or wanted to win more. Nobody's perfect, but we never doubted his passion for the game and the Cubs. It's an understatement to say that Sammy is a fan favorite. We plan on inviting him to the 2025 Cubs convention, and while it's short notice, we hope he can attend. We're all ready to move forward together. So now what?
I don't know why.
Is this what now it's going to be for this that generation, the PEJ generation, is that they're all going to have to start issuing apologies, and is that their way into a Hall of Fame?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, that's what life is about, right?
Sure.
Impropriety's done. You show contrition for it.
Forgiveness, right?
Yeah, because you look at Barry Bonds. Like there's something unlikable about Barry because he just refuses to give it up. Refuses to admit anything. Roger Clemens, the same thing. The refusal to admit anything, and everybody's like, "Come on, we know the reality, man." Andy Pettitte, all right, you got me, man. I took the HGH, and everybody loves him because he just admitted it. He got caught with his hand in a cookie jar, didn't give any excuses. Everybody was able to move on from it. And what I don't understand is why does it have to be, shot around the target? Why can't you just say, listen, at that time, I thought it was the right thing to do. A lot of other people were doing it too. I made a mistake. I did PEDs. I'm ashamed of it, but I got to own it and move on. Well, what's so wrong? There's a whole generation of people that don't care. Peter and I have had this conversation. I think there's a whole generation that figure, who cares they were on something? What does it matter? They were on greenies back in the 50s and 60s. Who cares? So I think we're over it. Just, I did it. It was a mistake. Move on. Everybody's like, okay. And that was the problem with Pete Rose. He never showed any contrition. And I screwed up. And I think people would forgive him because it was a different time. And I think there's a whole generation of people that just don't care.
Don't you feel like in the Hall of Fame, you get a plaque and it tells about your career?
Right.
What is wrong with on the plaque, it says either admitted to, using, or any, it's all about history. Acknowledge the history. But in the era that this was going on, he was still one of the greats.
Yeah, I get it, but I'm trying to think of who is.
You feel like that still is not enough? Again, if you're just going to straight up lie and just not ever admit, that's on you, and that could hold you back. But if you come out and just say, this is what happened, this is what I did, and yet a lot of others were doing, as we know, and you were still one of the best. It's not like what was it? Limitless? Was that the movie? Was it Limitless? Where you took the pill and the brain function was off the charts.
Oh yeah.
Right, like it's not like that. You didn't take a pill and suddenly.
That's why
Don, you couldn't take a pill and suddenly hit 60 home runs in a season. You still have to put in the work. You still have to work out. You still have to have hand-eye coordination. It's just you don't get hurt as much. You recover faster. Yes, is it unfair? It's unfair and it shouldn't be done.
I know, but I've heard that before, and it's not an awful idea. But here's the thing: we know. We do the history. Does Gaylord Perry's plaque have to be he was caught numerous times with a spitball? Does Phil Necro's have to say he threw a knuckleball? And I was like explaining things. Hey, it is. Here, go look it up. You can find it out yourself. History's all there. All right?
Okay.
Now, 100 years from now, are they going to forget Barry Bonds was on steroids? I don't know, but to put it on the plaque just seems... I don't know, almost unnecessary.
Okay.
Because as you said,
but it's a story.
So Barry Bonds not a Hall of Famer?
No, everybody knows he is.
So who's the guy that is only a Hall of Famer because he hit? Like, I don't think Sammy Sosa or Mark McGwire are Hall of Famers just because they hit home runs. Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, they're Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
I believe they would have been in if they never touched the stuff.
So McGwire, you'd say, if he's not hitting the home runs he hits, 70.
No, he didn't hit for average. He wasn't an exceptional fielder. He hit a bunch of home runs. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer.
So he's not a Hall of Famer.
I don't think Sammy Sosa's a Hall of Famer.
Okay.
But Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, they're Hall of Fame players.
Yeah.
So if you make it to the Hall of Fame, but to explain it on the I don't know.
Okay.
Like I said, are you explaining that all the players in the 40s, 50s, and 60s took greenies? Or drank 13 cups of coffee before they played because they played, 13 games in a row all during the day?
I'm simply trying to find a way that you could still acknowledge what everybody feels like was, for that era, it's a black mark on the sport, but yet it's an era. It's still an era that you have to acknowledge. At this time, these were the best players. But this was also going on at that time, so just keep that in mind. That's all.
Should we, for Tom Brady's bust in the Hall of Fame, have a plaque next to it that said that he also won Super Bowls during Spygate and Deflategate? I mean, how far do we want? Why does baseball have to be held to this different standard when we know in other sports it happens?
They hold themselves to that.
But get over it.
It's stupid.
And the Hall of Fame isn't associated necessarily directly with Major League Baseball. Just say, hey, we're putting these guys in. Get over it. All right? It was a stain during our time. Just like gambling was a stain back in the turn of the century. That Ty Cobb was a bad guy. But you know what? He was a hell of a ball player and deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And then you decide amongst yourselves where you rank the PED stuff. But have some God from above look down and say, these guys have sinned. These guys need to be punished because the sanctity of our game was damaged. Meanwhile, you know there are NFL players that were on the same stuff and no one cares. Hockey players, basketball players, the same thing. But because the writers in baseball treat it like it's church, that they have to be held to a different standard.
They cannibalize their own sport. This is one of the things. All we do is hear baseball people complain about baseball.
That is true.